Hey friends, Joe the Farmer here. In today's video, I'm going to answer one of the #1 questions we get here on our channel. How do we keep this pond this clear, this beautiful, and without having all the algae and all the pea soup looking stuff on there? A lot of you have bodies of water on your property, or you're thinking about building a pond and you're thinking to yourself, I'd like to fish out there or swim or maybe ride a kayak through there or something fun. Nobody wants to do that with a bunch of algae around you. It's gross, it's nasty, it's unsightly, and I'm going to show you how here in the early spring, when the sun starts coming out, the algae starts to bloom, how you knock it back, and then how you keep it back with some other chemicals. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like, leave us a comment, tell us what kind of property you have, and if you want to know about us, we're a family of 5 on 125 acres in Middle Tennessee. We love fishing and hunting and managing property and UTVs and tractors and all kinds of outdoor stuff. We would love to have you come back here with us on the channel. So hit that subscribe button, but let's get into this lake and let's show you how to make your body of water as nice as this one. Let's do it. So here in the back of the side-by-side, I have two different kind of chemicals. One is, and it spilled a little bit, but that's okay. This is called Captain XTR. This will interact with algae. Copper, somehow liquid copper will destroy algae. When you see algae blooming and algae growing, you can't just pour this in the water though, because this is not the kind of thing you dump in there. You really want to get a backpack sprayer. You want to mix this. I'll actually dilute this quite a bit, probably 2 parts water to 1 part Captain, which is made by a company called C-Pro. I'm going to put it on there pretty light. I'll check it out for the next couple days and then we'll see what it looks like. You can always knock it back, but you don't want to over apply. The second product I'm going to use, and this is kind of a sleeper. So I'm going to use something called pond dye. There's tons of different brands of pond dye. You just want to use something that's safe for fish, safe for swimming. A lot of these will say you can swim immediately after applying pond dye. Pond dye isn't just for the color of the lake. So if you're thinking about like clicking off me like, well, this guy's just talking about putting pond dye in. Pond dye will actually float on the top layer of the water. By floating on the top layer of the water and making it appear like it's a different color, it's blocking sunlight. When it blocks that sunlight, it blocks future growth of any kind of algae, because algae is basically just like a plant. If you knock back the algae early with these kinds of products, it will start to clear it up. How do you apply it? That's a different story. So you can use really any tank for this job. You can use a cheapo tank if you want to, or you can buy once, cry once, and get something like the Steel SG20. I have zero relationship with them. I actually bought this a while ago. I don't remember what we paid. It was a couple $100s though, but I'd rather buy once, cry once, get the good product, get the good tool, and not have to worry about it again. This thing has been flawless. We've used all kinds of stuff through it. And the way that I get around not having like one dedicated sprayer is we just use a tank cleaner. This is FarmWorks tank cleaner. Again, just bought it locally. And if you have one chemical in here, you don't really want to cross-contaminate them. For instance, we use a chemical around the house called Demon WP. And Demon WP is an insoluble insect and spider killer. It also is a fish killer. So if we're going to spray this in a pond, we really don't want to do that. We want to make sure that this thing's cleaned out. So about 1 ounce per gallon, for something small like this. You can use this in big tanks too, but I'll just put a little squirt in there, mix it around, rinse it out. When the suds are gone, then we're ready for the new chemical. We'll fill up with some water and then we'll get out there and spray the algae. So anyway, just real quickly want to tell you about the sprayer because I know some people may ask. Another nice thing about the sprayer is that it will give you all the measurements. So right now I have about 2 gallons, maybe it's closer to 1.5. So I'll be conservative, say 1.5. I'm going to put half gallon. That should give us enough firepower to knock this algae back. I'll use this one that's already open a little bit. Now, do you need to use gloves? No, but a lot of this stuff has a tint to it. Unless you really want to have blue fingers for a while, I'd probably recommend the gloves. Shake it up. Now we're ready to go. Okay, and the final thing that we're going to do after spraying all the algae is we're going to put some of this black pond dye. Again, you can use any color that you want. I usually use like a midnight blue, which is a really, really deep blue. I couldn't find any, so I'm going to go with this one. So I'm going to give you a nice little overhead look at this stuff because it really is quite beautiful when you put it in the water, because it'll take a little while to disperse, maybe 3 or 4 hours. But you want to shake it real good, and then you also want to have gloves on because This is kind of like peeling a bunch of black walnuts, okay? Your hands are gonna be dyed for a while if you don't wear some gloves. Finally, after you dump it all in there, get a little bit of pond water, shake it up again, keep doing that until it starts coming clear out of the jug. You don't want to spend money on something that you're not getting the product for. Make sure you know your measurements. This is a 4-acre lake, 1 jug for 4 acres, so this is a perfect measurement for us. This should last for a while. You know, rain and everything will, you know, it'll mix it up a little bit, but it'll float back to the top. It's when it overflows and goes out the drain, that's when you start losing it and then you have to reapply. So anyway, I'm gonna dump the stuff out there. All right, so we got it all in there. Now it's just a matter of time to let that dissipate, go all across the lake, and that little blob right there is going to be spread everywhere, and it's going to be amazing. We'll check back in, and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, it's been a few days, and real quickly, I wanted to give an update on the chemicals we put in the pond. So chemicals have worked great. A lot of the algae is starting to die off. I probably need to hit it again because I was very conservative on the chemicals I used. I diluted it, you know, pretty good deal. Everything's cleared up real nice. You can see that the pond dye is actually sitting on top of the water. So sunny days like this where you can see the sun on the water, it's a big deal to have that pond dye on there because the pond dye just sits on the top and it blocks the sun. You know, the sun encourages growth of everything from grass to trees to weeds to everything else, including algae, which is in water. And this part of taking care of a piece of property, if you're thinking about building a pond or if you have a pond and you're a little overwhelmed to think about taking care of it, be conservative on the front end. Don't be afraid to get a backpack sprayer. Dilute that sucker and knock it back some and see how it does. Anyway, we'll have kayaks in the water. We'll do some fishing. We'll do some catch, clean, cooks. We're gonna have a good time out here this summer. And you know, you're gonna have a little bit of algae. It's just part of dealing with it during this time of year. But with that said, this wind's blowing me around. I see my son's over here with the UTV. They need some help with the leaves. So anyway, we're gonna get to work doing something else. I appreciate you watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Joe the Farmer. We out.